My name is Krina, and I have been saved now since 1998. That's when I became a Christian, accepted Jesus into my life, into my heart. But before then, I was raised Catholic. We never would have known that we were in church because of our lifestyle at home. I grew up in a very angry environment. The most exposure I had to God, being spoken about at all in the house, was just His name being taken in vain in the house. Lots of cursing. I also remember standing outside the house one day on the porch, thinking, is this all that there is to life? You grow up, you get married, you get a nice job, a nice house, have kids, you have a nice car. Is that it? And so I remember one day, my oldest sister's friend came over one day asking me if I wanted to go to church with her. And my first thought was the Catholic Church. Since it was my only exposure to church, to religion and all, I'm thinking, not really, but okay. That's what I was thinking. But given my flexible, super flexible attitude, which is probably why I got myself into so much trouble, I decided, okay, I'll go with her. So I said, yes, I'll go. And so I went with her. And what I saw in that church was very different versus what I saw in the Catholic church I grew up in. Full of people, but there was music. And everybody was standing. They were obviously worshiping God, except I didn't know that at the time. I just saw that their hands were raised up. And at some point of the service, I went to the front of the church at the altar, and I didn't understand what was going on. So I didn't know what to do other than just to mimic them. So I did the same thing. I raised up my hands, I closed my eyes, and the one thing I will not forget that happened to me that day was when I had my eyes closed, I saw a beautiful bright light and arms stretched out wide open, and the Bible was opened in the middle. I felt a lot of value, acceptance, a lot of importance. You know, I didn't get any of that at home, and I did not want to leave that vision because of that. So when I opened my eyes, almost everybody was gone. Then fast forward a few years later on after that, because of all the abuse that went on in my house, a lot of emotional and verbal abuse, I couldn't take it anymore, so I ran off for approximately 6 months. I got involved with the wrong crowd, got involved with a lot of, sex, drugs, not too heavy in drugs, but it was there. And there came a point where it just got really old. I didn't know, and I eventually went home. It's just that before I made that decision, I didn't know what was better, being in the streets or being at home, because if I went home, I knew what I had to look forward to. But I went home. And a couple months after being home, my cousin comes over, and he ends up talking to my dad about a play at the church he was going to called Life or Death. So I figured, okay, I'll go, why not? And so I went with them, and I remember when I got to church, at some point of the play, I don't really remember what part. It could have been Jesus' crucifixion, but what I do remember is that something strong, really strong, came over me, and I started to cry. I remember at some point of the altar call, I went down to the altar, and I also remember that my dad was with me when I went, and something again fell over me. Something really strong fell over me, and I started to cry all over again. It was just very, very different. And I grabbed my dad, I hugged him, and I kept saying, I'm so sorry for being such a horrible daughter. I'm so sorry. I love you. I'm so sorry. It's as if I was awakened somehow. Like the blinds came off of my eyes somehow. I had never experienced it. I didn't experience it going to a Catholic church. It was my very first time. And it ended up being my very first night accepting Jesus into my heart. Everything that I had felt the very first time with my very first encounter with Christ, when I didn't know it was an encounter, I'm feeling it again in that moment, at that play. Love. I'm feeling acceptance, value, importance. Everything I didn't get growing up, I felt in that moment. And so, like I said, I ended up receiving Jesus into my life. So fast forward a few years later on, I end up coming out to California, And I eventually find the church that I now go to, the Door of Christian Fellowship Church. In the very beginning of the church, what I did notice is how people treated me when I first started going there. They didn't treat me differently than the members of the church. They welcomed me. Jesus loves me. He died on the cross for my sins. I was lost and I didn't know I was lost. I was blind. I didn't know I was blind. Jesus came to me. I didn't know enough to go to him. I didn't know I was lost. But yet he made it a way to come to me. And the truth I'm finding out about Jesus, he's full of love. He's full of truth. You know, he brings correction to those he loves, those who will receive it. There's nothing to search for with Jesus. He fills me up. Just by me allowing him into my heart, he fills me up with his love, with his joy. And I have found that the more I become obedient to his word, the more rewarding it is. My focus has been more about God because of what he's done for me. He saved me. I now have a chance for heaven. I have freedom now because I'm obeying him. I'm learning to obey him. I've got love. So God is important to me. He's in my life, and I want the whole world to know about it because everybody should know about Jesus.